I'm Susan. Today I'm going to share with you a project called Suffragists Speak. And this is a project that's near and dear to my heart, partly because of the subject matter, but also because it's kind of the last hurrah of obsessive work on my part. So I got the idea. So what happened was I thought that I would like to do a project. 2020 was the 100th anniversary of women's right to vote in the United States. So I thought I wanted to do a project about it, and I thought that I would do a book. But then I sort of set it aside, and then it got closer to the date, which is August 18th. It got to be June, July. And I thought, I really do. I started to see material that was coming out about it, a PBS special. I was like, I really do want to do something, but I think I'll just pick one quote, so I'll have something I can do. And the quote that I picked was from Elizabeth Cady Stanton, and it was, "Truth is the only safe ground to stand upon." But I couldn't find, and I was reading a biography of her by Laurie Ginsburg, and I couldn't find the source of it. So I found her email online. I emailed her and I said, do you know the source of it? And she said, well, I know the source. It is from the Women's Bible, but I would really question whether that was the right quote to use, because Elizabeth Cady Stanton was a elitist and a racist, and perhaps you do not want to have that quote, especially talking about truth, be the one that speaks for the suffrage movement. So I read further in her book, realized she's absolutely right, and that the movement was incredibly complicated, and that I really needed it needed to be defined by more than one voice. So people think that this is actually not the real beginning. There was things happening before, but often 1848 is what's considered the beginning of the women's rights movement, with the Seneca Falls Women's Rights Convention. And so by the time the vote came, so that was 72 years. It was a really long time, multiple generations. There was just a lot, there was a lot of ups and downs, and it was just really complicated. And I'm just going to read to you just a bit of the paragraph of the introduction. "The journey was long, arduous, and complex. Issues of race and class arose as generations of diverse women grappled with abolition, immigration, and temperance, as well as the question of when and if to compromise. While the women's patience was frequently tested, their resolve never wavered." And so it was just a long thing. So I picked 14 quotes. I did them in calligraphy, and I just will mention that in the idea of obsessive working. So I researched, wrote, did the calligraphy, and designed this book in less than 2 weeks. So I mean, it was wonderful to be immersed in that world, but also kind of insane. So I'm going to just share with you two of the quotes. And I will just also note that the title is Suffragists Speak. In England, they define themselves as suffragettes, but in the United States, the preferred word was suffragists, and I named it Suffragists Speak because the story is really being told through their words. So this is Abby Kelly Foster. She was from Worcester, Massachusetts, so close by to me, and she spoke at the first national women's, so there was the other one, but this was the first national women's conference, women's rights convention, and it was held in Worcester. And she said, "Bloody feet, sisters, have worn smooth the path by which you come hither." And then, so that is what I have done as the quote. And then I have added here, in many cases on this, I just added more words from their speeches or wherever they wrote it. "I hope, however, that you do not feel that I speak to you in anger. Oh no, it is in the hope of inducing you to be willing to assume responsibilities, to be willing to have a sleepless night occasionally, and days of toil and trouble. For he that labors shall have his reward, he that sows shall reap." And I just do think it is interesting that the whole pronoun thing, that was a battle that had not yet been fought, so that even though this is a women's right thing, their sort of umbrella pronoun is he. And the other person that I will show you the quote from is from Mary Church Terrell. And this is, "And so lifting as we climb, onward and upward we go." And that was the motto. She was a founder of and a president of, the first president of the National Association of Colored Women. She was a brilliant woman. In 1904, she was at an International Women's Congress in Berlin. She gave her speech, first in German, which was the host country language, second in French, and lastly in English. And she had an incredibly long and active life when she was in her 80s. So she died in 1954. In 1950, she was at the forefront of a movement to integrate eating establishments in Washington, D.C., which went through in 1952. And in that time, so she's in her 80s, she's on the picket line. She's both behind the scenes and also right out on the picket line. So she was just an amazing woman. So this past year, kind of women's rights being, just voting rights being such an issue, I decided I wanted to find another way to share this. And what I came up with, so I can't give away books because they cost me money, but I can give away PDFs. So what I did was I took the information in the book and I did two series of posters, one that is 8.5 by 11, regular letter size, and one that is 11 by 17, which obviously is bigger. This is the largest size that a kind of a big full-service copy machine will print. So those are available for free. They are in the comments. I put a link to them. They're on my website in the free poster section. I encourage you to go there, download, print, whatever you would like of them. And Women's History Month is coming up in March. So if you know of a classroom or a school or a library or something, or a public place that would be interested in possibly displaying them, you can pass the link on to them. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.